Okay, this video is going to go through using basic descriptives on SPSS, and here we are in variable view. You can also do it in data view, either one. And so you go to Analyze, Descriptive Statistics, and we're going to look at descriptives. And here are listed all your variables. If instead of looking at your variables by their name, you could, by their labels, if you had called them something else, you could change it. But because I have my name and there is no label, then they're identical. For example, if I had labeled this doctoral cohort status, then if I went to Analyze Descriptives, now you'll see that it says doctoral cohort status, and also cohort is the name. Or if I switched it to name, it'll only say cohort. So that's just something that you can do, especially when you download data files from a national database. Often you will get the names and variable labels, and you want to be able to switch between them. So let's try and get some descriptive statistics for, let's use income first. And so we move income over, and you can select more than one at a time, but let's do just those for now. And within options, you can select which variables, or of the variables that you have, what descriptives you would like. And so let's say for now that all I want is the mean to be displayed, the mean and the standard deviation. You can choose whether you want to look at it in your current variable list, the way it's ordered in your file, or whether you want it listed alphabetically, or by ascending means, which sometimes you want to do in your output, or by descending means. And we're going to leave these two alone for now. One thing that I want you to notice within the descriptives, if you ever need z-scores for your variables, if you click on the Save Standardized Variables, Save Standardized Values as Variables, you will automatically get the z-score for each of these variables. And what will happen then is you will get a z income, z age, giving you the standardized scores for those. You could hit OK and run the analysis that you've requested, but instead what we're going to do is we're going to hit paste. And what paste automatically does is it generates this syntax file for you. Now this syntax file is very useful. I'm going to remove this for now because we don't need it. Because what this syntax file does is it basically tells you the code to get the variables that you want. The nice thing about having the code, however, is that it is very flexible, and you're able to change things here, and instead of having to click through again. So here you'll notice the save command. This command right here is what allows you to have z-scores. What I like to do is, actually I think I'm going to move my command statement here to not, there we go. So here I have my statement that's telling SPSS it's grayed out, so that means that this statement is just a note for myself. Also, instead of putting the variables there like that, I can actually say from income all the way to test 15. And again, the save command is the z-scores. And here, instead of just putting the mean and the standard deviation, I think I'm going to put all. And so now what I've told SPSS to do is to get me descriptive statistics for the variables from income all the way to test 15. And I've asked for z-scores, and I've asked for all the descriptive statistics. So now we can run this. Now you might wonder why I would want to do it this way as opposed to doing it with the point and click. Well, the advantage is I don't have to point and click each variable, or later on if I only want to look at income, then I can just remove that without having to click through. I have my syntax here. This is the command that I have ready. Another huge advantage of syntax is when you do an analysis for a set of data, if you have the syntax, then you have a trail of what analysis you have done exactly, and how you did that. You can replicate it with that syntax without having to remember what you point and clicked on. So let's go ahead and run this. So you simply run it, and then you get the output file, and you'll notice here I got all the descriptive statistics from income through test 15. This is the number of cases. Here we have the range, the min and the max, the sum, and here we have the statistic, the mean, along with its standard error, the standard deviation, variance, the skewness, along with its which is this value and its standard error, and the kurtosis with its standard error. Now, if you didn't like the way this table was arranged, if you double click on the table, sometimes I want the rows and the columns transposed, or sometimes instead I want pivoting trays. And the pivoting trays allow you to move the table around in a way that you might find easier for whatever way you want to set it up on your data set. So for example, here I have the variables still, but I have moved the standard errors down here to their own row, so that here I just have the mean, standard deviation, variance, skewness, and kurtosis. And if I am needing the standard error, for example, to divide the skewness by the standard error of the skewness, it's immediately under it instead of next to it. So that's just one of the ways that you can move the table around. Another way to get some descriptive information is to, I like to use the compare means tool, which allows you to not just compare means, but it allows you to compare other things besides the mean, and it allows you to do it by a particular group. So for example, if I wanted to look at, this is my gender variable, so men and women, and if I wanted to look at, let's say, income and age by the gender variable, I can choose to look at the mean, the standard deviation, and the number of cases. Or instead, maybe what I wanted to do was I wanted to know the median, the mean and the median. Or maybe I wanted, because I know my cases are 300 in this case, I don't want that represented in the table. Maybe I want the mean and the median and the percent of the total. Maybe those are the statistics that I'm choosing for this particular data set. And I can also choose ANOVA tables here, but for now, let's say I'm choosing the mean, the median, and the percent of total N. And I'm going to again hit paste, and what this is telling me is I'm going to have a means table, but it's not just means, because notice I have the mean, the median, and the percentage. So let's see what that looks like. And so I run that, and you'll see that I have the mean, the median, and the percent of total N. So I have for the men, I have a mean income of 39,853, a median of 39,591, and I have the age for the men also in the mean and the median and the percentage of the total. Same thing with the women. And if I wanted to, I could look at it yet another way. I could look at it with the crosstabs, and in here I can look at the exact same information, and I can have the men and the women in the columns, and the income and the age in the rows. And here you're given the option to do Monte Carlo or exact test, and the different statistics that you can choose. Gives you a little more options than within the means test. You can also choose whether to include the observed and expected, or row percentages, column percentages. You can even do z-tests for proportions, which is useful. But we're going to do this, and we are going to also ask for clustered bar charts. So let's see what that does for us. We're going to paste, and we're going to return to our syntax file. And here, remember, we need to include some description of what we have here. So this is just going to produce for us a simple table. Remember what that got for you. It's important to note that you just get a simple table, and the income and the age, you'll notice, are in the columns. So the first variables, or the variables before the by statement, are in columns. The variables after the by statement are in rows. Don't forget your period. So here you see female and male are in rows, and it gives you whatever statistic you request within the cells command. So now later on, if you are looking for a table quickly, you know exactly what you need to put in. You can put your variables here, the ones that you want in the column, the ones that you want in the row, and you can put whatever statistic is there. And the nice thing also, SPSS will tell you, for example, let's say you don't remember how to write out the standard deviation. Well, as soon as you start typing it in, it'll give you a pull down menu to remind you of what that command is. So you can add here in the cells. And for the crosstabs, let's go ahead and run that. And here in the crosstabs, notice that you get a very interesting looking table, because the income, of course, everyone has a unique income, and so this table is not very helpful because everybody's income differs, and so you've got charts, but what are you going to do with that? Here though, you're able to see the different age groups in the chart with again, the men and the women in a bar chart. However, a more useful way to use the crosstabs is to use nominally scaled variables instead of intervally scaled variables, because here, remember, you're getting means, so it's appropriate to get means for intervally scaled variables. But here you have women by interval scale variables, and you're going to get individual lines for each of those. So if you'll look back on your data set, we have cohort that we could use. That's a nominally scaled variable. So let's go ahead and instead of income and age, let's put cohort there. And now let's rerun that syntax. We don't have to click again. And now you can see that you get the cohort is in the rows and the gender is in the columns. And you get a bar chart of the cohorts by gender. Now here you'll understand why, again, the syntax is so important, because now you'll notice, I'm going to copy and paste this over here, but now what I have is the variables that are before the by statement are not in columns as they were in the means table. The variables before the by statement are actually in rows now. And the variables after the by statement, in our case female here, are in columns. So we can indicate that so that next time that we do this, we know that whatever we put before the by statement is going to show up as a row, and whatever we put in the after the by statement is going to show up as a column, because sometimes we want it one way or the other. And then we didn't ask for any percentages of observed or expected, so those are not given there, it's only the count. And we did ask for a bar chart, and so the bar chart is provided. And so I would also indicate here that a bar chart is provided by the category after the by statement, so that you know how your bar chart, you don't have an expectation of what your bar chart will look like. And also notice that that it's a pretty simple bar chart, but you can double click on it just like you did with the tables, and you can change whatever you'd like there. If you want no background color there, you can go ahead and change that. If you click on the bar chart, you can change the name of the title. If you don't want this represented as 0 and 1 as it's coded, and instead you want to put what it actually is, you can write in there that that is the men and this is the women. And then of course once you've coded that, you can label this more appropriately as gender. You might want to change the font size to, let's say, maybe 14, and you'll do that. Or you can set this ahead of time on SPSS for your preferences, but sometimes you just want it for a particular chart. You can do this for, and it doesn't have to be the same font size. You can set it whatever you want to, and your title, you can either leave that. Sometimes I prefer not to put the title here within SPSS. Instead, I put the title in my actual manuscript. So here what you can do is you can make the font color be clear, and you can just make that go away. Select it there. And so that now you don't have that, and if you close that out, you can see that you've now changed that, and you are now ready to right click this and copy it and put it into your table. You can also notice I have cohort 1, 2, and 3 kind of backwards here. That's because that's the how many years they've been there. But if I wanted to change that, if I didn't want the order that they are currently in, I could change the order of the variables. I could go in and reorder the categories. I could reorder the men and the women, or I could reorder the doctoral cohort status. And so now I have them cohort 1, 2, and 3. I could also do it for the women if I chose to, but I think I'm happy with it the way it looks now. And so I can now close that, and I have the figure as I like it. If you click on the scale, you can change the scale. Maybe you want it between 0 and 100 to match another chart that you have so that they're on a consistent scale. It's very flexible. So don't feel constricted to whatever comes out. But basically, hopefully you've got a basic understanding of what the syntax command does and how the notations, the comments that you provide are useful to you later, so that you don't have to redo the pointing and the clicking. You just have to save your syntax file and have a running syntax file, so that way you know if I want a bar chart, this is where I can get it, or if I want some descriptives, this is how I can do that.